Okay, welcome back, everyone. We will resume our conference now with a panel discussion entitled Cybersecurity and Artificial Intelligence are an unbreakable bond in a future of automation and orchestration. I would like to welcome our panelists, Mr. Rami Damati, who is the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Al-Barza platform, Mr. Ahmad Al-Imadi, who is the head of IT and cybersecurity at Nakhil, Ms. Iman Layakat, who is a research analyst at Dinar Standard and a member of WICSME, and Muhammad Qattash, who is the cluster director of information technology at Fairmont The Palm in Dubai.
Assalamu alaikum, good morning, good evening for everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. We are discussing today a very interesting topic, and it's a major discussion these days about AI and cybersecurity and the benefits of using it, when using it, do we need to use it, how it will help us. As we know, threats today increased very dramatically. Remote work has been added to our model, and there is many challenges and area that came up on the head of the IT or security people within the network that they need to manage. So today we will have, inshallah, discussion about these details, these requirements in regard of the AI and cybersecurity with a couple of questions with our great panels. Let me start about maybe with Ahmad. What type of problem that AI really solve, and when we can use it?
First of all, thank you for having me here and for the guest being here. To be very frank, let me put things into perspective. The attack vectors in cybersecurity is bigger than the periodic table, and each attack is different than the other. Today, there is KPIs that we work on in cybersecurity, and one of the main ones is the mean time to detect, mean time to respond, mean time to recover. Now, today in a traditional world, or let's say cybersecurity world, you have your SOC, you have all your logs, and easily a 300 device, let's say entity, can generate around billions of events in a month's time. And this has a lot of noise. Now, one area where AI can assist, I wouldn't say solve. I would not like to say AI is a solution to permanently fix things. But what it can do is it helps you to decrease your MTTD, which is the mean time to detect, by, let's say, having additional data, enriching the data, learning the behavior, different modelings, to give you a better perspective on the type of attacks that can be happening within your entity. So this is one area where AI can assist, but definitely there is a vast area, and there is around, let's say, from the last research I did, around 2,000 companies in AI just in the US, and each one is working in a very particular manner. There is no single AI entity or company which can look across all the problems. So that itself is another challenge, but AI does things much better than humans when it comes to looking at a heavy or a lot of data, learning from it, or by you teaching it to detect or to take an action in a much more faster way. So it's very fast, it learns, and it has a history behind every action that it takes.
Great. What do you think, Iman? How we see the requirement for the AI in cybersecurity? What is the market demand and research here?
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm firstly very honored to be here amongst great experts, mashallah, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you. So, Rami, I have come here with 4 hats. okay? I don't have them here, but you gotta imagine those 4 hats, okay? And I'm gonna keep changing those hats as I respond. The first hat is going to be the academia. So I'm gonna respond in terms of, academics, what research has to say. Second hat would be the industry. The third hat would be the government. And the fourth hat is what I would call the lifesaver hat. Like if I don't have any other hats to wear, I'll wear those. So, to your question on what AI can solve for cybersecurity and what the market is like, right? What the market is like. Okay, so, and don't mind me looking at my phone because I have prepared, like I have so good experts here, so. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what the market is like for AI and also what it is like for cybersecurity, right? And how do they both match? Okay, sorry? Sorry, okay. So in terms of AI, and this actually will answer the question, why do we need cybersecurity for AI, looking at the market. So I'm going to now wear my academia hat, and I'm going to tell you that the World Government Summit has published a report, which is government in 2071. And I'm from Dinar Standard, by the way, and as a research firm, we've heavily worked on this project. So in this project, in this report, we estimate the size, we estimate that AI would add on to the GDP in the next decade. It's gonna be a US 16 trillion US dollars. Now, I don't know how huge that is, but that's definitely very huge, okay? With that said, and we all know with evolving technologies comes the need for cybersecurity, isn't it? So if AI is gonna grow that big, so is gonna cybersecurity grow that big as well. Just one more, I would like to cite one more trend within the report. So in this report, we actually took a global survey for consumers, and we asked them, tell us what are the top innovation trends that governments should be prepared for. And here what they have to say. Number 1 is hyper-connectivity, IoT, right? And the second highest technology governments need to be prepared for, and now I'm wearing my government hat, is the cybersecurity. And AI comes in the third or the fourth, right? So this is how huge AI is, and this is how huge cybersecurity is. I hope that answers the question.
Great, thank you so much. Muhammad, what do you think?
Regarding which question?
When we can use it, how much we need the AI, and what type of application that can be used, maybe?
So first of all, really thank you for hosting us here, and it's a pleasure to be part of this panelist. When it comes to AI, it is something now we cannot run away from it. It's something that get integrated, developed, taken into each single part of our life. Now, to which extent we need to deploy AI or depend on AI, again, I can echo what Ahmed said in the beginning. Even we had started our discussion prior getting to this room. I still, and everyone mostly, still believes that AI basically it's the best thing to analyze big data, get us the results of this big data that we, as a human, we cannot process in a very time, let's say, good time manners. But to take the decision, the action, we still need the human interaction. So here we come to the point that we need to analyze our actual, let's say, needs of our entity, and where we need to increase AI involvement, where we need to decrease and increase the human interaction. And that's where I come from, end user perspective.
Yeah, great. Actually, I agree with you, and we have that discussion with outside that it is not right the time now, I think, to have the AI, or it is the right time to start now and start replacing our old machines, old equipment that it's already working within our network since a while, and know our network in and out, and we customize it as we need. So what do you think, Ahmed?
That's a very interesting question. As we're discussing now, the percentage of the AI companies, let's look at it from a commercial perspective, that are existing in the region, or specifically in the UAE, in comparison to what's available globally, I can say it's not as much, definitely. This is one. So do we replace existing technology with AI? Again, there is no right or wrong answer. AI has a lot of use cases. I can give you one which is, for example, user behavior analysis or learning the entity's behavior over time through modeling, which is used a lot. It's used in a lot of use cases. So you have a technology which sits there, analyzes how everyone, every entity, whether it's a device, a person, a process, is running over time. And any deviation from the algorithm or the model is going to give you an alert, which is most probably going to be much more accurate than a traditional one because it's learned the behavior over time. Where is the issue? Because of how niche these AIs are, each one is trying to do or trying to fix a certain particular topic, whether it's email phishing, whether it's network, whether it's the web security. So you don't have a solution which looks at all. In AI, if you don't have an end game, you shouldn't go into it. And this is my belief, and I'll explain why. So from a contractual commercial, you have this thing that the company might not exist here. Two, to enable AI to work efficiently, it needs to analyze a lot of data, and that computing power you might not have internally, and your data might need to travel outside. Now, for any of the use cases, so it can analyze the big data to give you the results back. It could mean you need to send your confidential emails outside so that you can you can run an NLP over the email to know the natural language of the sender, whether it's communicated with your entities, and this is a great technology. The challenge here is, are you willing to send your email outside? If you are, it's a great technology, go for it. If you're not, you need to look a different way. This is one. Two, why I mentioned endgame. We did a POC in AI back in 2017 for about a year. We didn't look at, it's a POC, we didn't think much about the end game. Now, today, an AI device or machine or whatever you want to call it comes with a model, which has been, it's an algorithm. And startup companies usually patent these algorithms, and it belongs to them. Over time, when you feed it your data, which is very unique to your entity, there will never be an entity which looks, or the immune system of that entity will look the same as another entity. You put it there, it starts learning, it's doing great. 1 year down the line, this becomes your proprietary, your asset, this intelligence that it's built on top of your data. So now commercially, this technology is not in the country, let's say, or the company is not in the country. It could, whatever reason, you need to change this. The question I ask you here is, can you transfer that intelligence from one box to another? Or do you have to go through the mechanism of reteaching a different tool with a different modeling? Is this going to be okay with you? So if you replace a traditional tool which is signature-based, signature means it detects on the spot, whereas the AI has to learn the behavior. Something which comes in for the first time, it still needs to understand it, analyze it, whereas a signature tool might automatically pick it up. Maybe you need to run both at the same time, because if your end game is not clear, you're going to end up in a dark era till you bring something to relearn and to bring it up to that efficiency. Should you use AI? If it fits your commercial, because again, don't forget, to create a budget for cybersecurity is a challenge. To prove the return of security investment is even a bigger challenge. So I believe AI can complement the existing tools. We're not at this, I don't believe here right now with the available in UAE, you might have one tool which can replace or do a lot of things. Maybe you can find something to assist you in getting better results. But again, let me give you a use case where AI can really, really hit you hard. And this is based on, let's say, user behavior analysis and having something such as a SOAR, which is security automation response, which takes automatic action. So it was announced that Friday will be a working day. So you imagine you have an AI engine who learned about your entity in the past 6 months. Suddenly on the first Friday, your whole network is down. Why? The entity's behavior has changed. Suddenly on Friday, everyone is at work. The processes are coming up, people are here, and this is sending a result back to your automated response system, and it's just blocking everything because it's abnormal to have all these activities on that day.
Because the AI is still don't know what is the new one.
Exactly. So something in a regulation changed, something changed. So do we have a perfect AI that can look at everything? No. It's always good at the moment, this is what we see at least, to have it as a complementary rather than replacing a complete solution. So it goes back again to knowing your people, process, technology. I mean, this is just a few use cases that happens.
Great. So yeah, I believe accessing even to the data that AI is already learned about and collect the information about the network is, I believe, it is something difficult to access and transfer it from machine to machine. So we will return back to the ground zero and start again if we implement a new solution or something. So Iman, do you think now, because of the COVID, before and after and during, and we have changed the workplace strategy, how do you think AI will help to maybe help us support, accelerate our work?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you touched upon a good point on the COVID-19, right? Like, there's so much of research out there that we are assessing the effect of COVID in terms of technology, right? In terms of technology advancements. And, you know, it has actually accelerated us. What we say is it's got us 10x, right? What we thought we would do in coming 10 years with technology is what we're doing now. I also, Rami, I wanted to echo on what Ahmed just ended on was the ethical issue, right? So you train a model and then one fine day, systems just, you know, turn the tables because, I don't know, maybe your technologies become too intelligent or because the legislations have changed. So will this stifle our innovation is the question we need to ask. And so ethics in AI and technology in general is a huge topic. I mean, we can have another discussion on that, right?
The bias part, how it is bias to which...
The bias, exactly, and how do you address that? And we are at the stage where we train our AI models, right? So there's artificial intelligence, then there's machine learning, which is within artificial intelligence, and then you have deep learning, which is even within machine learning. Now, what's deep learning? So AI is that you train your machines, but deep learning is you don't need to train your machine. It will do it for you, right? The neural networks, it's the next human brain. So we're not there yet, and our experts can actually tell us about that. We're not there yet, but it's not impossible either. So what happens when one fine day we do get to that stage? What would the ethics be like? And I think since COVID has, you know, pushed us so much in technology that we couldn't even have imagined, well, we are very close to that deep learning aspect. And that's a question, again, we have to take our academic hat, we have to take our industry hat, and also the government hat, and question ourselves, what is the next AI 2.0 perhaps, going to look like for us?
Thank you so much. Muhammad, as a director of the network, and you are implementing your strategy, your product, and everything, and how do you think that type of information that you need to know as a manager or as a team or as people who's using the AI itself? Do you need to have something like
If you're talking
this?
about to which level you will allow the AI, because again, AI depends on the resources you put into
The resource, the knowledge itself,
and the
for
access that
yourself.
you are giving also to the data. If this is where you're going, so basically this is where, again, you go back to the same point where you are deciding to which level you want to allow the AI to automate things. So to which level I want to allow AI to access in my data? To which level, or let's say...
Take the action and be on your behalf.
And then to which level I'm gonna reduce on my team. Yes, for sure, we need the AI in our, let's say, all the solutions, where I can at least give them more time to my team to be able to focus on the actual items or tasks that they need to action as a human, where you're required to take decision, to deploy, and so on. And I depend on the AI as a tool. I don't go beyond consideration of AI as a tool that will just only gather the data, clear the noise, filter it, and give me the inputs where I can just look on it very fast and take my decision. Just as simple as that.
Great. What a use case that you use it in your domain from AI perspectives, and it's helped you as a real implementation, maybe in your industry, in your domain?
Yeah, what I can mention is it's still security, CCTV domain. Let's take it this this example. The CCTV domain itself has evolved dramatically over the past few years, 5 to 10 years. The AI, think of it as this way. You have a command center of 10 monitors. Each monitor is hosting 20 to 40 cameras, and you have 3 people sitting in front of it. Looking at hundreds of cameras, only few people, and to see if something goes wrong. Where AI plays a part is the algorithms within the cameras. The cameras now have chipsets, they analyze, they know, instead of a pixel-oriented, where it's just detecting things which are moving, it's become object-oriented, knowing if it's a human, if it's a child, if it's a woman, if it's wearing red, if it's a Toyota, if it's a Lamborghini, if it's a road, it can identify even if it's a cat or dog or a monkey, to this level. What does this mean for security? For security, it has a lot of use cases. You have human counting, human tracing, if somebody gets lost. You have something called...
Motions.
Yeah, exactly. You have something called as sudden dispersion. So you might have a scenario where suddenly everyone moves out of a certain scenario. In a normal use case, a security person will have to look at the camera and see that there's a movement. But this will bring it up on your screen that there's a sudden people moving around. Or the other way, somebody falls down and people need to go. Or if somebody is walking against the traffic, which is coming through. So AI does the detection part in a beautiful way when it comes to the CCTV or for the security purpose or even for commercial purposes. Whereas today's next level supermarkets are relying on AI in cameras to see, you took this water, it's cost 2 dirham. Oh, I put it back in front of you in real time. It's an expo, by the way. It will deduct, it will know based on what object you're taking. So you have, it's a mixture of technologies. You have CCTVs and all. Then you have another use case of AI, which is because of how much data is required to analyze this, you have to send it back to get processed and all. This kills your network or bandwidth, or it's gonna, you need to pay a lot to your service provider. The beautiful part it does is one algorithm, it's one of the algorithms, it looks at that particular, because you don't change the camera angle a lot after Sierra has approved it. It looks at that image. After a while, it knows what is permanent and what is what's stationary and what is moving, and sends back those pixels for the things which are moving at a higher definition and what is static at a completely lower, without destroying the quality, saving your bandwidth by 80%. So this is from an operational perspective. Same thing, for example, if you have robots' hands in the room, after a while it learns this is just a static, even though it's moving. So in the security world or the commercial world with the CCTV, there's a lot of use cases. One, so you don't need to hire more people. You don't need to have patrolling because it has something called as virtual borders if they jump over something or a fence automatically. And the beauty is because of how optimized the processing of the video is, you can easily send it to the main command center to explode on the screen and show you this is happening. So it drives the whole detection rate and the response rate from an AI in the physical security world.
Muhammad, what do you want to add? I believe you mentioned some interested cases.
I will just add the same, but in the other way around. For example, in the CCTV, or let's say in AI, basically, you try to reduce the human interaction, which is the typical what we use from AI. But in hospitality, for example, in a couple of years back, let's say 2-3 years ago, I tried one POC where that was intended to enhance the guest interaction, where we do actually you come into the hotel, you come into the lobby, you have an experience, you go to the reception, you get an experience, you go to the outlets, F&B, you have an experience. So during your walk around, basically the camera is detecting your face expression and then is reporting back to the responsible person or department that there is a customer, this is the customer footage who is actually unhappy. So you'll find someone who's coming and interacting with you and trying to enhance your experience. So you look at it, and again, you go back to the same point that AI is an amazing tool, and it's an amazing tool where you just decide how you will use it and to which point you want to give it access to your data.
Yeah, definitely it will impact our customer experience in everywhere and increase the revenue and decrease the time of solving problems for sure. Iman, what do you think about the academic part in terms of research and how it is related to the actual use case or needs in the market maybe? Do we have enough capability in the, let's say, educational curriculums to help us to be ready to go to the market and implement it?
Oh, that's a great question. And in this case, of course, I'm going to wear my academic hat and a student hat because I'm also doing masters in data science and financial technology and just got enrolled in it. And it's just awesome how my dots are connecting because as a researcher, you know, my intention was to get data literate, and that's why I enrolled in this course. But it's not just the programming part of it, but it's also the clean and, you know, secure programming that we are taught. For example, just to connect to what Ahmed and Mohammed had to say, the other way around, regarding the teaching the AI and specific use cases, right? For example, AI clustering. So I remember doing the k-means clustering, and you know how you segment certain types of people, for example, in banks, how you segment them, and all of that. But we were also taught that by doing this, you know, it's possible for hackers to also find weak links, as you would say in networks and graphs, right? The weak links and, you know, target those consumers, pros and cons. Then there was another thing. Oh yeah, last week I did image recognition and voice recognition. So we used pre-trained models to use that to do image recognition and also voice recognition. Now, the fun part here is, when we were doing image recognition, you know, we used a picture that had a hat and had a iced tea can, and then we did the programming. We used the pre-trained models, and then it was so beautiful. It actually told that this is the hat and this is the can. And I was wondering, you know these CAPTCHAs that we get when we have to verify ourselves and the images, and then you have to identify the street lights, and then you have to tick, you're not a robot. And I was like, well, can robot not do that as well? And surprisingly, I found, yes, AI is getting so advanced, robots can actually do this thing as well. Pros and cons. So what do we do in this case? Voice recognition. I remember coming across a fact that in 2017, there were some banks that used my voice, my password, right? So voice recognition to sign in, log in. And look at it now. I mean, you have apps that can actually clone your voice. I could have used that app because my voice is down now, so. So again, pros and cons, how do you use that? So I think when we, in education specifically, when we are taught, either it's cybersecurity or data science or engineering or whatever, it's important to also touch upon these clean code habits, you know, that they exist. And even if we don't have the solution, it's important to tell us that this exists and we need a solution for it. So STEM learning, along with that, clean coding and cybersecurity is crucial. I hope that answers the question.
Cool. Final things, your final thoughts, expectation for 2022 and the AI cybersecurity, what you are expecting and what you are looking to see as an enhancement or in the product solutions.
Over the last few years, the dimensions of cybersecurity, including the offensive part, which is the attack, have evolved. They've changed. From a hacker's perspective, they might have for a certain time, we're living, let's say, in a paradise. Why is that? Humans are the weakest point. Getting them from a secured environment, sending them to a different network, connecting back, this increased the number of phishing attempts, ransomwares, definitely sending people back home. The governance might come down for a while till your cybersecurity tools get up. Now, going forward, I mean, it's been 2 years from now, a lot of companies have adopted elastic security, which means if you have a certain security control or policy in-house, it's extended to outside, anywhere in the world, to be very frank, whether it's your web proxy, whether it's your anti-malware engines, things are becoming, in a way, hybrid. And we have to embrace, it's not a bad thing, because the power of the cloud is very difficult to be brought back home. So what I see is more people are stepping into the hybrid model of cybersecurity, where they can extend the certain policies when they're away and when they're back. Malware engines or your antivirus reporting back to your centralized, extending support, even from an operational perspective, by having tools to know how the user is dealing with the business services, where your desk and table doesn't matter anymore. Your office doesn't matter anymore. And this is what I see. It's my prediction is going there. And AI definitely will help in understanding the overall behavior of that segment of people when they're out of office and in office, which brings to there's another niche area which is called the digital employee experience, where you know how to measure their experience with you as a service provider, as an application, and how it's performing, whether they're in a remote or whether on this. So my prediction is, again, from what I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of AI companies which are not here yet, or stationed here, or to give you the right support you need. I see this is an opportunity both for the market to see what we are facing in this region more often, and to bring those niche technologies over here so that we can utilize them, and even encourage them to host it within the UAE cloud. So this is it's an ecosystem that is maturing. So it's not a prediction, it's maturing, and I predict, inshallah, within the next few years, with all the development, with Amazon coming here as well, another competition which is here, which is great, it will open a lot of opportunities for all the industry to be able to utilize niche technologies, I would say, or technologies. So it's a good future, hopefully.
Fantastic. Iman, thoughts, final thoughts and predictions?
Can I, can I have Mohammed go first?
Okay, I'll go
second.
ahead. The future is, as you just said now, it's very promising. And you go back to the point that actually COVID, with all the bad things happened with it, it was a good on one part, which have opened the eyes of the industries overall on the importance of technology, adapting the technology, trying the things in the market and testing them. AI is rapidly already improvement within the past couple of, let's say, month or during the COVID time till this year, it's already enhanced a lot. You end up to have, as you just said a minute ago, colleagues who are working from home, not even remotely, even using their own devices, where you require to be able to extend the security of the system and allowing them to access with their own device. So you end up to provide MDM solutions, web filtering, VPNs, and limitation, and so on. So yes, AI is coming to cybersecurity very big. But we need to just take it step by step. Test them, explore, and see how it's beneficial for you, but don't invest too much to the point that you get into your endpoint.
100%.
Awesome. So the reason I wanted Mohammed to go first is because I didn't get a chance to wear the industry hat. I didn't need to, right? We have experts here, all three of you. So I just wanted to connect the dots and put the cherry on the cake, at least try to do that. The reason I introduced you to the three hats, primarily, ignoring my hat, was, yes, for fun, but also because I believe these three hats play a key role in any innovation ecosystem, as you mentioned, right? The academia, the industry, and the government. In academics, we have this three things when they come together. We call it the triple helix model. Perhaps you guys have heard about it. And this was introduced specifically for innovation. But in my research work, I've also tried to link this to supply chain, food supply chain management, and how we can leverage such models. But of course, it's primarily was introduced in the innovation, I think, smart cities. Okay, so, so I believe for any innovation, let alone just AI, for any innovation, it's necessary that these three hats meet together, right? They work together. So when we are talking about AI and securing and the smart cities and all of that, it's crucial that these three work together to build a very robust system, right? Be it AI secured in itself or creating cybersecurity services for AI, I mean, whatever way it goes. I would also like to mention there is a fourth hat as well that we should incorporate. That's my hat. Well, no. The fourth one is the consumer, the society, right? And then again, we have an advanced model, which is the quadruple helix model. It's important that we take their inputs, right? We hear from them, like I cited the government 2071, and then what consumers had to say about what governments should focus on. We should work on such research more, hear out the society, but also involve them in our, making the ecosystem strong. I think that's a key takeaway from my side.
Great. We hope that we add little more information about the topics, and we have our insights and make beneficial for everyone. I would like to thank our estimate panel discussion and all the people who participate as well. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you in other occasions as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks. By the way, I'm selling my hats as NFTs if you want to buy them. So.